Hey everybody, Jim Dexter from Tactically Sound Training Center and Walther Arms Defense Division. So I got a new plate in for my PPQ Q5 match steel frame from C&H Precision. I wanted to do a video on the install of it. I think other than the fundamentals of shooting, which are the same across the board, whether you're shooting an iron-sighted gun or a dot gun, installation of the red dot is probably the number one thing that I see that people have issues with in performance of their red dot equipped pistol. Because the base of all of the success with a red dot gun is the fact that the red dot is on there correctly, that it's going to be able to do all of the things that it should be able to do, that it is secure enough to get a good solid zero, and that it's going to stay properly installed as you apply your fundamentals and keeping that dot securely onto the frame of the gun so that it continues to perform as it's supposed to. So I wanted to take some time here and just go through the install procedure for this C&H plate. What I'll be doing is I'll be following Buck's recommended guidelines from C&H that he has written up, just in a visual perspective of things. For those of you who are more visual learners and would rather see it than go through each one of the individual steps, along with some little things that I do with my installation of my optics. So I've got everything out here that I'm going to need. It comes with just about everything that you're going to need, minus your wrenches. I got my inch-pounds fat wrench, another wrench to start the threads. I've got my acetone here and my little acetone ramekin. Got my paint pen. Got a little card to put my screws and things down onto, and my Q-tips. I like to use the fiber headed Q-tips instead of the cotton Q-tips. Those tend to always leave something behind and fray a little bit. These are nice and smooth, and they won't leave anything behind as you're running them through the threaded areas or through your post. So first thing we have to do is going to open up that C&H box that's got everything in it and set everything to the side. I'll be mounting my Holosun 507C version 2 on top here of my slide, so I'll be looking for everything related to that. So our Vibra-Type VC3, it comes with a little pouch of it. I've got my own little tube right here, so I'm just going to set that to the side, throw that in my range bag as a little bit of a backup. I've got my plate here with the integrated rear sight on it, set that to the side. Got my T-nuts here that I'm going to need for installing the plate to the frame itself. And my Holosun screws, so right there on top, conveniently enough. And then the M3 marked screws that I'm going to need to mount the plate to the frame itself. Got an extra T-nut, and then all the other screws for RMR, another set of Holosun, and another set of the M3 screws to put it on there. So I've got extra sets. I'm going to set these to the side. The C&H Precision plates come with the T-nuts that you're going to need. You got your T10 and your T8. The WEHA heads that are going to serve you really well. So, I mean, this product is designed to work for duty grade use, all the way down to giving you the correct attachment pieces in order to get this on here to give you the greatest possible installation of this. So first thing we need to do is we got to take all the screws, the adapter plate and everything out. We want to clean them off. So we're going to clean all the threaded holes in the slide, the adapter plate, and the T-nuts with an acetone and a Q-tip. Blow it out with air, whether you got compressed air or just blow it out, ensuring that everything is free from oils and debris. And set them out to dry for a little bit. So I'm just going to take my little Q-tip right here, run this across, make sure some drops get down in there to make sure to clean this out. Little cleaning cloth here, find a clean spot, get everything through there, blow a little air into that T-nut, and continue on to the next one. This is going to remove any oils or debris or anything that were in there from manufacturing or from shipping to ensure that you don't have anything in there that's going to affect the ability for everything to mate together. So I've got these, going to set this over here to the side so that those are together. Got my M3 screws that I'm going to use to mount the plate to the frame. Same thing with these. Just drop those down in there a little bit. Reach in there, grab them out. Dry them off. And this one I can use a dry Q-tip to get in there, dry that head out, dry the threads out. Set these to the side for a second because I'm going to need those again in a minute. Same thing with this one here. Dry it off. Dry the head, dry the threads. And then the Holosun screws. So with this one right now, with the way that these are packaged, it's going to be obvious. The M3 ones, they're a different color. They're the silver as opposed to the black screws of the Holosun. If they were the same color, all I'm going to do is, on this little note card that I have here, I'm just going to write M3, Holo, RMR, whatever I need to do to differentiate between the screws so that when it comes time for install, I can pick up the right ones at the right time and I don't have to mess with it. Or you can just take the little bags, throw them down, and set the screws on top of the bag so you know which ones are which. So now these are cleaned off. They're dry. I can feel they're dry. They're dry to the touch. So I'm going to clean that plate off. Same thing. Get that acetone down in there. Run that Q-tip through there. This is where I like the fiber ones, even though it's pushing through. I'm not leaving little fibers behind here. It's in there real good. Same thing, dry that plate off. Run that dry tip head through there. Dry it out even further. And then set this to the side. So now I need to set up my screws for install. So I'm going to take my VC3 here and I'm going to apply a single drop of the VC3 onto the threads of all of my screws here. Take this, apply one drop on there, and then spread this around so that the VC3 is getting down into the actual threads of the screw. I need a little bit more than one drop to ensure that it goes all the way around, depending on what sort of drop you got down in there. The biggest thing is just ensuring that those threads are filled with that VC3 thread mate in there. Set that one down there. VC3 is very sticky and kind of goopy, as you can see here. One of the things you can do is that you can just use that T-nut to kind of hold it in there. And again, this sort of Q-tip is nice because I'm not leaving fibers in there, and I can get that VC3 in between the threads like I need. That was actually convenient because it took it off there. So we're going to put all this on here and we're going to let these sit for 15 to 30 minutes. For me, I like to go ahead and just go all the way to 30 minutes because the mounting of my optic is so important. That what else am I doing that's more important than ensuring that this thing goes on and stays on correctly? So I'm going to go ahead and give this a full 30 minutes. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, so my Vibrotite has set. So now I'm going to start to begin to put the optic plate onto my frame. I did wipe the frame down with some acetone where the plate's going to sit, just so that there was nothing in there, no residue from anything previously that was on there, so it's a nice clean surface now. So the first thing I need to do is I need to set up my plate with my T-nuts that are going to sit in here to get that good thread engagement. So I'm just going to set those into the back side of the plate, or the portion of the plate that's going to sit up against the frame. You want to check and ensure that the T-nuts are down in there and they're sitting all the way down. Might need to just tap them a little bit. Mine sat right down in there and they're sitting nice and flush on there. So now I'm going to take this and mate it up with my optic frame itself, or with my pistol frame itself, and ensure that it's sitting nice and flat, which it is. The T-nuts are protruding up. They haven't backed down in here at all in the cutout that they sit in, so I'll get that good solid engagement of the threads of the screw. So now what I need to do is I need to take the M3 screws and my T10 and install those so that the plate will stay attached to the frame itself. So I'm going to start out here, take the M3 screws, set them down in the holes that do not have the T-nuts in them. The T-nuts are what's going to secure the optic to the plate. So right now I'm just going to take my regular wrench, and for me what I'm going to do is I'm going to start counterclockwise until I get that little click. It's going to sit down and set down in there, ensures that I don't cross thread it, and get things started out really well. So I'm now going to screw this down now until it's flush with the plate. I'm not going to go very hard on this because I'm going to set this with a torque spec here in a minute. So now I'm going to move on to the second one. It's flush. There's no, it's going in nice and easy. So this one, same thing, counterclockwise. Got that click and that positive feeling in there that it's sitting down in the threads now. I'm going to go in that clockwise direction. Nice and easy. Feel everything thread in there until it is flush with the slide. I'm going to look at it. Everything is flush. There's no issues, no problems here with it. I'm going to take that out. I'll put it on my fat wrench and dial this thing up to 10 inch-pounds. Don't over torque this. There's no reason to do that. All it's going to do is cause you issues. So I'm at that 10 inch-pounds. Everything is set in there now. So now I'm just going to turn this until that torque set is spec, or that torque spec is set. All right, I'm going to give this a little tap. Make sure everything is set down in there, and same thing. Check that again. And everything is good. So now what I want to do is I want to make some witness marks on here. Witness marks are important so you can spot check and also identify any issues that you may have. What witness marking does is that first off, it gives you a visual index to ensure that your screws haven't backed out at all, so that you can identify if you do start to have an issue with something, whether that issue is related to the optic itself or the mounting. So I'm just going to take my paint pen here and I'm going to make a mark between the frame of the optic plate, or the optic plate, and the screw itself here on both sides, so that I can see the connecting mark in between there. That's going to fill that well a little bit in there with paint that's going to dry up. So you can see how I have the ability now to just take a quick look and see if these screws have moved at all. I'm going to let this sit and dry for about 5 minutes so that when I put the optic on there, it doesn't erase that paint or mar that image at all, so it's going to be nice and dry. So we'll come back in 5 minutes and get the optic set up on top of the plate. So my witness marks have dried now on the plate, so it's time to mate my optic to the plate. Take my optic, set it down in here, ensure that I have good engagement here with my recoil posts and my recoil lugs, and I'm going to check both sides and ensure that this thing is sitting down flat on here and I don't have any space. This thing's set down in here really nicely, set right down into the recoil bosses, and very clearly mated to the plate. So I don't have any issues here. My plate was correctly installed to the frame itself. So now again, I'm going to take, in this case, my Hollison screws and set them down into the body of the Hollison. I'm just going to go ahead and get them both down in there right now. And now I'm going to switch to the T8. Same thing as before. I'm going to start out with just that regular wrench and do that counterclockwise thread so I can get that engagement. Until I get a little bit of pressure on there. Same thing here. There we go. And hand tight down on here. Check it again real quick. It's all set there. Now I'm going to switch over to my torque wrench, which again is set at 10 inch-pounds, so I just left it sitting there for the 10 minutes that it was on. And same thing now. All right, good set there. Good set there. Same thing as before. These are good solid plates that have a good mate and a good seat of the optic. So I'm just going to tap those down, make sure that I don't have any space that I couldn't notice. And give it 2 more to know that we're good and set. Right, so we're good to go. Everything's down there, 10 inch-pounds. Again, don't go over that 10 inch-pounds. It's completely unnecessary. It's only going to cause you problems. If you're screwing it in by hand and the threads aren't going in correctly, make sure to back it out, get that good set with that counterclockwise pressure, and try again. If you continue to have problems, if it's not going in smoothly, then just abort the process and contact C&H to see if you can identify any issue, or go to a gunsmith so that they can check it out. Last thing you want to do is ruin those threads, cross-thread anything, or just install it improperly. That's going to give you issues as you go to shoot this gun. So just the same as the mounting of the plate to the frame itself, I'm going to put some witness marks here. I already have a previous witness mark from where it was mounted before, so I'm just going to do the same thing and run that paint pen across the ridge here of the optic body to my screw, so that I have a good quick visual representation of the positioning of my screw relative to my optic at the proper install. I'm going to let this thing dry, put my gun back together, and head to the range, reconfirm or confirm my 0 if it's the first time you're putting the optic on. This plate dropped it down a little bit lower than the factory plate, so I probably will have a little bit of a change in 0, but I'm going to let this dry overnight, going to let everything set up so that I don't have any issues at all once it comes time to shooting. Then I'm going to head to the range and check it out. So that is the install of a C&H Precision plate on a multi-optic gun per the C&H recommended install procedures. Remember, get trained, stay equipped, be willing.